Watch it, old man! Are you blind? Do you know what this boat costs? The shout ripped across the gleaming marina as the weathered fishing boat gently scraped the pristine yacht. Laughter erupted from the deck, sharp and mocking. The old man on the small boat just slowly turned his head, his eyes steady. The Neptune's jewel shimmered, its polished surface reflecting the sun. On its deck, Trevor Sterling, a man whose tailored shirt seemed too tight for his inflated ego, gestured wildly. Seriously, look at this rust bucket. It's an antique, not a boat. His friends, champagne flutes in hand, roared with laughter. One, filming on a phone, chanted, "Grandpa's Navy attacking innocent civilians. Boat fail." On the small weathered vessel, the seafarer, Arthur Miller, his face a roadmap of sun and sea, calmly secured his mooring line to the dock. His calloused hands, once capable of wrestling a broken engine back to life in a storm, now held the rope with a quiet precision. He ignored the taunts, his gaze fixed on the worn cleat, tying a knot as perfect as any he'd made decades ago. A young man in a crisp marina uniform, clipboard clutched tight, approached. "Sir, we've had complaints about your vessel. This dock is for registered modern vessels, not whatever that is." Art looked up, his voice steady despite the sting of the words. "It's registered. Since 1972. Same slip for 50 years. The manager scoffed, glancing back at Trevor for approval. "Regulations change. Maybe it's time you found a more appropriate marina." As Art stepped onto the dock, someone muttered, "Just scrap that thing already, eyesore." Art paused. He walked to the stern of the Seafarer, his movements slow but deliberate. He raised his hand, his fingers snapping to a perfect military-precise salute to the small, faded American flag fluttering on his mast. Then he moved to a weathered wooden bench nearby and sat down. He pulled a worn leather wallet from his pocket. Inside, a single creased photograph showed a younger Art, standing proudly in a merchant marine uniform beside a towering cargo ship. His finger traced the image, a private moment of connection to a past unseen by the mocking crowd. A small boy, escaping his parents' grasp, approached Art. "Mister, were you really on a big ship? My grandpa was too." Art nodded, a gentle smile touching his lips. "Long time ago, son. Bigger than that one." The boy's mother hurried over, pulling her son away, her eyes wary. "Don't bother the man," she said. But the boy waved, a small, genuine gesture that warmed Art more than any apology could. On the Neptune's jewel, glasses clinked and music blared. "To successful people with successful boats." Trevor's voice boomed, followed by another wave of laughter. The sun glinted off the water as Trevor's party continued, their laughter echoing across the marina, a harsh symphony against the quiet lapping of waves. Art sat on the bench, the sounds of their revelry a stark contrast to the distant hum of his own memories. His mind drifted back, not to the grand battles, but to the relentless, unseen grind of the merchant marines during the Korean War. He remembered the icy spray on his face, the constant shudder of the ship's engines, and the terrifying silence between the bursts of enemy fire. They were the lifeline, the unseen backbone, pushing through treacherous waters, delivering tanks, ammunition, and food to the front lines. He recalled the gut-wrenching fear of torpedoes, the biting cold that seeped into his bones, and the quiet camaraderie with his shipmates. Men who faced danger without the medals or parades, simply doing their duty. One night, etched forever in his mind, his ship, the SS Ironclad, took a direct hit. The explosion shook the vessel to its core. Below deck, water rushed in, threatening to drown the engine room. Art, then a young engineer, worked frantically in the rising water, the acrid smell of smoke filling his lungs. He sealed a ruptured pipe, jury-rigged a pump, and battled the incoming tide, preventing a catastrophic explosion that would have sent the ironclad and its vital cargo to the bottom. He saved his ship and countless lives, not with a weapon, but with grit and ingenuity. He held no bitterness for the world's forgetfulness, only a quiet understanding that some bravery happens in the dark, far from the headlines. The marina manager returned, his face set, a security guard standing stiffly beside him. "Sir, I've checked our updated regulations. Your grandfather clause expired last season. We've been meaning to contact you." Art's voice was calm. "Meaning to? I've been here every day for 50 years. The manager ignored him, looking at the security guard. "We need to clear this slip. Complaints are piling up." Meanwhile, the accident became the marina's main entertainment. "He practically rammed us!" Trevor yelled, exaggerating the minor scrape into a catastrophic collision. "That relic shouldn't even be allowed in the water. It's a hazard to navigation." A crowd formed, some watching uncomfortably, others openly mocking. "Just scrap that thing already, eyesore," someone muttered loud enough for Art to hear. A young marina worker, oblivious, snapped photos of the Seafarer. "This is going viral," he chuckled to a co-worker. "Battle of the Barnacle Boat, number boat fail." Art didn't defend himself. Arguing was for men with something to prove. He'd proven himself in ways these people couldn't imagine. He simply took a slow sip of water from his thermos, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, where the endless sea still held his deepest memories. Two elderly fishermen sitting nearby shook their heads. They recognized the merchant marine insignia on Art's faded cap, a silent tribute to a forgotten hero. A deep, resonant horn blasted across the harbor, cutting through the party music and the arrogant chatter. Heads snapped towards the sound, conversations dying mid-sentence. It was the unmistakable, powerful call of a military vessel, a sound that vibrated through the very air. A massive, gray silhouette began to form through the morning haze at the harbor mouth. It moved with a silent, purposeful grace, growing larger with each passing second. It was clearly a naval ship, its functional design stark against the frivolous yachts. Confusion rippled through the crowd. "Is that a Navy ship?" someone whispered, squinting towards the harbor entrance. Trevor, still oblivious in his champagne haze, laughed nervously. "What, are they here to tow his old wreck away? Perfect timing, honestly," he joked to his friends, expecting them to join in his amusement. But as the ship drew closer, it didn't head for the main shipping channel. Instead, its colossal bow slowly, deliberately turned. It was aiming directly towards the slip where Art's small Seafarer was docked. The immense vessel slowed to an almost imperceptible crawl, its powerful engines parting the water before it. Flags, previously furled, were now raised to full mast, snapping crisply in the breeze. Then, a voice, clear and amplified, boomed over the loudspeaker, echoing across the now completely hushed marina. "Requesting permission to honor retired Merchant Marine Officer Arthur Miller. Stand by for ceremonial approach." The laughter stopped. The music died. The silence that descended was absolute, broken only by the gentle lapping of waves against the docks and the low, powerful hum of the approaching naval vessel's engines. Trevor's champagne flute clinked as it slipped from his suddenly nerveless fingers, shattering on the deck of the Neptune's Jewel. The ship, identified now as the USNS Valiant, a formidable military transport and support vessel, gleamed in the sunlight. Sailors lined its deck in impeccable formation, their crisp white uniforms standing out against the gray hull. A smaller, agile patrol boat detached from the Valiant's side, gliding swiftly and precisely towards the dock. 3 active-duty officers, resplendent in their dress whites, with polished brass and immaculate white gloves, stepped out of the patrol boat. They approached Art with measured, deliberate steps. The lead officer, a commander with a chest full of ribbons, stopped 3 paces from where Art stood, his gaze fixed on the old man. The commander, his voice clear and authoritative, carried across the now silent marina. "Merchant Marine Officer Miller," he stated, his gaze unwavering. We are here on behalf of the Maritime Administration and the Secretary of the Navy. Your legacy has not been forgotten. Your service is remembered. Your courage is acknowledged. Art slowly stood, his weathered hand rising with a lifetime of ingrained habit, meeting the commander's salute. His hands, which had trembled with the sting of humiliation moments before, now trembled with the profound weight of decades of unspoken sacrifice, finally washing over him like a warm, cleansing tide. The crowd, utterly captivated, lowered their phones or began recording with a newfound, almost reverent respect. The commander then turned, his eyes sweeping over the marina staff and landing firmly on Trevor Sterling. This man, he gestured to Art, ensured critical supplies reached our troops in the harshest conditions imaginable. He saved his ship and crew from certain destruction under enemy fire, ensuring a vital lifeline remained open when many of your fathers were still in school. He performed duties few civilians can comprehend, facing the enemy in waters the public never heard of. Trevor, suddenly looking small and insignificant, tried to stammer a response, but hushed sounds from the surrounding crowd silenced him instantly. The commander's gaze intensified on Trevor. "You were concerned about damage to your yacht, sir? We understand. The Maritime Administration will cover any perceived damage, and we'll ensure to include the cost of your blatant disrespect in that assessment." A ripple of cheers and applause erupted from the bystanders and dock workers, the very same people who had laughed earlier now standing protectively behind Art, as if they had been his silent champions all along. A second officer stepped forward, opening a leather portfolio. "Officer Miller," he announced, his voice resonating, "the documents you submitted regarding your service record during Operation Deep Passage have been reviewed at the highest levels. Your testimony has been corroborated. The classification has been lifted." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Operation Deep Passage was unknown to them, but the gravity in the officer's voice conveyed its immense importance. A local reporter, camera flashing, typed furiously on his phone, already envisioning the headline, "Veteran Mocked for Old Boat. Maritime Administration Responds with Full Honors." Within hours, the video of the ceremony exploded online, reaching millions of views. The officers presented Art with a gleaming brass plaque and an envelope. Inside, authorization for a permanent slip at the marina for "The Seafarer," paid in perpetuity by the Merchant Marine Veterans Association. The USNS Valiant blew a final, long, deep horn, its sound reverberating through bone and memory. Flags lowered in perfect synchronization. Salutes were given from every sailor on deck. Art stood at attention, returning their salute, a single tear tracing a path down his weathered cheek, but his posture remained perfect, the bearing of a sailor who never truly leaves the service. 1 week later, the marina had changed. A new, permanent brass plaque now shone brightly beside Art's slip. Reserved for Merchant Marine Officer Arthur Miller, because some vessels carry more than weight. They carry history. The dock manager had personally installed it, his apology to Art evident in his downcast eyes. Trevor Sterling, red-faced and humbled, even offered to pay for a complete restoration of Art's boat. Art forgave them all with a quiet nod and a handshake, not because they deserved it, but because he knew peace mattered more than pride. A profound lesson learned through decades of quiet sacrifice. He still sails the Seafarer every morning at dawn, still raises the flag with reverence, still honors the shipmates who never came home. Their names are etched not on plaques, but in his heart. And sometimes, when fog rolls in thick across the harbor, tourists gather along the marina, waiting, hoping for the moment they might hear that deep military horn again, hoping to glimpse the silent precision honoring quiet dignity. But Art just smiles his gentle smile and says, "That ship already came, and it knew who I was when no one else did." In the end, respect isn't about public recognition. It's about remembering what truly matters when the world is forgotten. The true measure of honor isn't found in luxury, but in sacrifice.